My name is Carter Gizleta, and this is my final project. My theme is nationalism. And so on my first slide, what is nationalism? Nationalism is favoring the action of a group or nation rather than oneself, or supports the group's interests and shows loyalty and devotion to a nation. And that's like the main definition I have for nationalism. In the second slide, we will discuss Ernest Renan's What is a Nation? In the text, he says, a nation is a spiritual family, not a group determined by the lay of the land. Renan makes it known that a nation is separate from language, ethnicity, and interest. He says, we now see that what does not suffice to create such a spiritual principle, race, language, interest, religious affinity, geography, military necessities. Okay, and then the next slide, how does this connect to my nationalism? This connects to my theme because Renan is stating the main principles of what should be in order to create a nation and nationalism. He further explains how nations serve the commonality of citizens, saying that civilization would not be intended to thrive without such a structure and inclusion of the past and present. And then my next piece of the project, we will go over Olympe de Gouges' Declaration of Rights of a Woman and the female citizen. De Gouges argues that a nation cannot be a nation without the majority of individuals participating in the writing of the Constitution, meaning that a nation must include all enabled for it to succeed. Some evidence that I pulled from the Declaration are mothers, daughters, sisters, and the representatives of a nation demanded to be constituted into a nation assembly. De Gouges is arguing for women to be included in the nation, and the excluding of women is the reasoning for the corruptness of the government. And the second quote I have here is, the purpose of any political association is the conservation of the natural and unwritten rights of woman and man. These rights are liberty, prosperity, security, and especially resistance to oppression. De Gouges mentions the sole properties of what makes a nation: liberty, prosperity, security, and resistance to oppression. She argues that the rights of men and women must be included to ensure this nationalism. These quotes connect to my theme because although De Gouges is fighting for the overall rights of female citizens, since they were not included in the original declaration, she still argues for the sake of the nation to be served from the corruptness that women must be included in the original documents. She provides valid points as to how a nation should act so they can flourish altogether. In my next slide, I will talk about Nicholas Monrod's discovery of the New World. He finds the new land full of plants, animals, and rich minerals. And instead of wanting it all for himself, he lets those of his nation know about it to better him and the people of his nation. In the text of Nicholas Monrod's, it says, have led to the supply of new medicines and remedies for the treatment of numerous diseases that would otherwise have remained incurable. Monrodes is doing such a thing for the greater good of the nation rather than himself. How does this connect to my theme? Instead of wanting it all for himself and not telling anyone about it, he helps cure diseases for his nation, and provides for great land. In the next slide, I want to talk about the autobiography of Cataline de Rosa. Cataline dresses up as a woman and cuts her hair to look like one in hopes to be treated like a man. She did this because she thought not only could she help herself, but maybe others as well. What is micropatriotism? Micropatriotism is an emotional attachment to a nation in which an individual recognizes as their homeland. This connects with De Rosa because she presents herself as a Basque, and because of Basque traditions, they protect each other and had different interactions with her than the Spaniards. The identities of Basque individuals were localized and focused on the greater communities representing nationalism in the autobiography. In the autobiography, De Rosa says, "At this time, 2 Basques happened to pass by, hesitated to the commotion, and placed themselves at my side, seeing that I was 1 against 5. The Basques did not have to step up and help her, but instead they did because of her nationality and their traditions of helping each other, showing great amounts of nationalism." Lastly, in the next slide, I will talk about a current example of nationalism. In Europe, as we know from the lecture, the French Revolution is a core example of nationalism. It was a unifying spirit of the masses of people to make free of the society of aristocracy. According to the masses, aristocracy served more loyalty to its own class rather than to the nation overall. It spread the message of unity, liberty, equality, all of which are core principles of nationalism. The French Revolution was just the beginning of nationalism in Europe, creating the idea that a state should represent its main interests in people. Finally, to conclude my project, I would like to say that through all 3 texts, I address the principles of nations and nationalism. It is a main component of European values, and it is interesting that each author had a different way of sharing their nationalism. And this is my reference page, and that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.